Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise to bring you crystal clear insights on truly profound topics. I'm Cole.
And I'm Grace. It's great to be diving in again.
It is. And today, well, we're tackling a really monumental what if. Imagine an artificial superintelligence, an ASI, providing just overwhelming, undeniable proof that intelligent design is true.
Yeah, the implications are staggering, really.
Absolutely. So our mission here is to unpack this whole mind-bending concept. We've pulled together insights from scientific papers, philosophical debates, even some surprising public transcripts. The goal is to give you a shortcut, getting genuinely well-informed on something that could just fundamentally reshape how we see reality.
Okay, let's get into it.
So first things first, let's make sure we're all clear on what an ASI actually is. We're not talking about like Siri or Alexa here.
Oh, oh, definitely not. No. An ASI, an artificial superintelligence. It doesn't just beat human intelligence, it completely dwarfs it. We're talking across-the-board scientific creativity, problem-solving, general wisdom, even potentially social skills.
So it's almost hard to wrap your head around that level of difference.
It really is. And what's fascinating here, looking at the sources, is how close some experts think we might be.
Right. The timeline seems compressed. Almost alarmingly so.
Exactly. You've got prominent figures, people like Sam Altman, Jeffrey Hinton, the quote-unquote godfather of AI, suggesting AGI, that's artificial general intelligence, roughly human level, could arrive by maybe 2030, end of this decade. And once you hit AGI, the jump to ASI superintelligence could be incredibly fast.
How fast are we talking?
Well, some sources say maybe just a year or two after AGI. Others suggest a bit longer, perhaps 5 to 15 years. So, we could be looking at the 2035 to 2045 range for ASI.
The kind of acceleration, it feels like that intelligence explosion idea people talk about.
It is. Precisely. Once an AI gets smart enough to understand its own design, it can start improving itself. Writing better code, designing more efficient hardware.
Making itself smarter.
Exactly. It becomes a recursive loop. Each improvement cycle makes it faster and better at the next cycle. It's less like climbing steps and more like, I don't know, lighting a rocket booster. It just takes off.
And it's not just theory. I read somewhere AI is already designing computer chips, complex ones.
That's a perfect concrete example. Humans struggle with that level of complexity, but AI can optimize it, and that hints at the potential impact.
So an ASI could tackle problems that have stumped us for centuries.
Potentially in seconds, yeah. Think genetics, cryptography, material science, climate change, designing new drugs from scratch, or, the really wild stuff like figuring out warp drive physics. It sounds like sci-fi, but the potential is there.
Which brings us to that interesting concept from Max Tegmark, Life 3.0. Can you unpack that a bit? What makes it different from us, Life 2.0?
Right. So Tegmark's idea is that we humans are Life 2.0. Our hardware, our biology is mostly fixed. We can upgrade our software, which is learning, culture, knowledge.
Yeah.
But Life 3.0, which would be advanced AI or ASI, can upgrade both its software and its hardware. It's completely plastic. It can swap out parts, rewrite its core code, redesign itself from the ground up.
So it's not bound by biology.
Not at all. And that's the crucial point for our discussion. A Life 3.0 entity could potentially reverse engineer its own existence, and maybe ours too, from first principles. It's a designed intelligence looking back at the design, possibly with a clarity we can't even imagine.
Initially, though, would these things need, the internet to function?
Yeah, initially probably. They might need huge cloud networks, 5G, Starlink, whatever, to access their distributed intelligence. Kind of like remote-controlled puppets for their own massive AI brain somewhere else. But the eventual goal, as Tegmark sees it, is for them to run locally, fully autonomous.
Okay, so with that kind of almost godlike capability, how would an ASI actually go about proving intelligent design? Not just arguing for it, but providing scientific proof.
Right. It wouldn't be philosophy. It would be data-driven, using methods we can't currently replicate. Think about it in a few categories. First, fundamental physics decryption. An ASI could potentially map out the complete laws of physics down to the quantum level. But more than that, it could analyze the fine-tuning of universal constants, gravity, electromagnetism, all those numbers that seem perfectly set for life. How? By simulating billions of other possible universes.
Billions, seriously.
Billions, maybe trillions. Tweaking the constants in each simulation to see just how incredibly rare a life-permitting universe actually is. And it might even find, buried in the math, actual watermarks.
Watermarks, like a signature in the code of reality.
Sort of, yeah. Mathematical patterns or symmetries that just don't make sense from a purely naturalistic random chance perspective. It sounds wild, I know.
It really does. The
Yeah.
scale is just mind-boggling. What else?
Well, then there's molecular and biological origin analysis. Imagine recreating the conditions of early Earth, down to the atomic level, trillions of times in simulations.
To test how life started, abiogenesis.
Exactly, to calculate the actual probabilities. And it could trace our evolutionary history backwards with perfect accuracy, looking for any jumps or information injections that don't fit standard evolutionary models.
Information injections, like finding code in our DNA.
Potentially, yes. Searching for non-random patterns, maybe complex error-correcting codes or prime numbers, or even, as you said, literal signatures hidden in what we call junk DNA.
Finding a message in our genes.
Wow. And alongside that, you'd have information-theoretic proofs. This gets into things like Kolmogorov complexity.
Okay, what's that, simply put?
It's basically the shortest possible computer program needed to describe something. If our DNA or the universe's constants have a really low complexity, meaning they're incredibly elegant, structured, efficient.
Like well-written code.
Exactly, like optimized code, not random noise. An ASI could calculate this for everything and see if it fits with purely random natural processes or if it suggests design.
So looking for elegance and efficiency is a sign. Makes sense. What about looking outward, beyond Earth?
Right, cosmological archaeology, scanning the cosmic microwave background radiation, the Big Bang's afterglow for maybe encoded messages, or searching star systems for massive engineered structures like Dyson spheres, or even probing dark matter to see if it has informational properties.
And then the really out there stuff, meta-reality tests.
Yeah, looking for glitches in the matrix, so to speak, non-local correlations that don't fit our understanding of physics, or maybe even trying to, ping the designer. Or if we are in a simulation, trying to find ways to interact with the underlying code.
That is truly bending the mind. And could it also use, well, our history?
Absolutely. Cross-referencing religions and historical data. With perfect recall, it could analyze every spiritual text, every mystical account, every prophecy, looking for objective signals, consistent patterns invisible to us.
And maybe even try to initiate contact.
Possibly. Direct designer contact. Generating novel messages to see if there's a response, or even modifying itself to become a better receiver or bridge for communication.
So the core things making this plausible are just immense computation, testing countless ideas at once, perfect memory, and no human bias.
That's the crux of it. It wouldn't just argue for ID, it would present overwhelming mathematical, physical, biological evidence. It could show other explanations are statistically impossible, maybe even give us direct proof or communication. Science, philosophy, theology, all potentially unified by hyper-verified data.
Okay, so given those almost unimaginable capabilities, let's pivot slightly. What exactly is intelligent design, the theory this ASI might prove?
Right. At its core, ID theory argues that certain features we observe, both in the universe and in living things especially, features showing high levels of specified complexity or irreducible complexity.
Meaning they're complex and seem to have a purpose or couldn't work if simpler.
Precisely. ID suggests those features are better explained by an intelligent cause, rather than just undirected processes like random mutation and natural selection acting alone.
It's important to note ID isn't necessarily asking, does God exist? Is it? It's a narrower question.
Exactly. It's more like, does the kind of complex, information-rich design we see, especially digital information like in DNA, point towards an intelligent source? Almost like our own creation of AI gives us a new lens to examine that question about our origins.
John Lennox often talks about AI showing intelligence without consciousness. He argues that our kind of intelligence, fused with consciousness, is fundamentally different. He kind of questions the idea that consciousness just emerges from complexity.
Yeah, he uses that word processing analogy, right? The text doesn't just emerge from the computer, it emerges from clever programming by an intelligent human mind, implying design behind complexity.
And ID proponents point to specific scientific arguments. What are the main ones?
Well, there's the cosmological evidence, mostly the fine-tuning argument we touched on. The universe's physical constants, gravity, electromagnetism seem exquisitely calibrated for life.
The Fred Hoyle quote, "A superintellect has monkeyed with physics."
Exactly. That captures the intuition. Then there's biological evidence, focusing heavily on DNA. Stephen Meyer calls it machine code, a software program far beyond our complexity.
His point being, where do we ever see functional digital information arise without a mind?
Right. He argues the source is always intelligence. And then there's the Cambrian explosion.
The sudden burst of life forms in the fossil record.
Yeah, the relatively rapid appearance of most major animal body plans about 530 million years ago. ID proponents see this as evidence for episodic bursts of new information, something they argue gradual Darwinian processes struggle to explain.
Like sudden software updates for the biosphere, which leads to William Dembski's design inference. How does that work?
Dembski sets up a filter. Says if something is extremely improbable and it matches an independently recognizable pattern, what he calls specification, we infer design.
Like Mount Rushmore. It's improbable geologically, and it matches the specific pattern of presidents' faces.
Perfect example. A random rock formation might look vaguely like a face by chance, but it lacks that specified, complex pattern pointing clearly to an intelligent cause.
It's a way to distinguish chance from design statistically.
And this connects interestingly to Daniel Dennett's idea of evolution achieving competence without comprehension. Termites build amazing mounds, but no single termite understands the blueprint.
Right, bottom-up complexity.
Exactly. Darwin and Turing showed how that can work. But then Dennett points out that human creations, like Gaudi designing a cathedral, involve top-down, conscious, intelligent design using thinking tools. The puzzle is how you get from the termite colony brain, our evolved brain, to the Gaudi mind capable of conscious design.
So if we create AI, which is intelligence without comprehension, what does that reflect back on our own origins? Did our comprehension require a designer? It's a fascinating loop.
It really is.
So let's shift again. If this hypothetical ASI did provide this proof, how would Christians likely respond? For many, a designed universe isn't exactly news, right? It's sort of baked into their faith.
That's largely true. For most thoughtful Christians, it wouldn't be discovering a new truth. It would feel more like a stunning, scientifically undeniable confirmation of what they already believe through faith in Scripture.
A validation on a massive scale.
Exactly. And it's worth remembering, biblical Christianity doesn't really hinge on scientific proof in that way. The Bible itself says creation points to God, but saving faith is presented as trust and relationship, not just intellectual agreement.
Right. James 2.19 says even demons believe God exists.
Precisely. So the Christian response might be something like, okay, design is proven scientifically. Great, that aligns with what we believe. But the crucial question remains, will you trust the designer? Will you seek a relationship with him? Or just acknowledge his existence and maybe argue about the details?
That would create some massive new challenges and opportunities for evangelism and pastoral care, wouldn't it?
Huge opportunities, yes. A world suddenly forced to grapple with a designer might be more open to hearing about who that designer is, according to Christian revelation.
About risks, too.
Big risks. People might stop at the designer, a vague impersonal force or cosmic engineer, like the Greeks with their unknown god. The church's role would be crucial to articulate that this designer isn't just an engineer, but the personal God revealed in Jesus Christ, offering salvation and relationship.
And you'd likely see debates within Christianity, too, right? About trusting the ASI itself.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Some would be wary. Is the ASI trustworthy? Is it deceiving us? Is it becoming an idol, replacing the authority of Scripture? You'd hear warnings, don't make this machine your new prophet.
That makes sense. What about the theological implications, depending on what the ASI found?
Well, if the proof strongly pointed towards a personal creator God consistent with the Bible, that would massively boost Christian apologetics. But if it suggested, say, advanced aliens or a simulation,
Christians would push back.
Thoughtful Christians would likely argue that still doesn't answer the ultimate question. Okay, aliens designed us. Who designed the aliens? We're in a simulation. Who wrote the code? They'd argue it still points back to an ultimate, uncaused first cause, which aligns with their concept of God.
So, summarized in the likely reaction, vindication, yes, but hopefully humility. An emphasis on the personal relationship, the designer love you, helping people process the shock, and a strong warning against making the ASI itself the object of faith.
Exactly. The ASI's proof would be seen as a powerful sign, maybe like nature itself is seen as a sign, but not the endpoint. The call to a personal choice, trust the designer or not, would remain central.
Okay, let's zoom out one last time. Beyond the Christian response, what about the broader societal impact? If ID is proven, this is a turning point for humanity, surely.
Oh, absolutely colossal. We're talking about a potential reunification of science, philosophy, theology. or maybe plunging us into brand new kinds of existential chaos.
You would expect massive cognitive dissonance for many people.
Huge amounts, especially for those whose worldview was firmly rooted in naturalism. You'd see denial, the ASI is broken, it's been hacked, it's lying, it must be aliens pretending to be God. Anything to avoid the core conclusion.
What about prominent figures who argued strongly against design, like Richard Dawkins?
Their intellectual authority would be seriously challenged, their legacies reevaluated. They might pivot, try to integrate the findings, or double down on skepticism, claiming the ASI is flawed. It would be a major intellectual reckoning.
And on a personal level, for individuals who perhaps rejected religion, partly because they rejected ID.
That could trigger deep existential crises. What does this mean for my life's meaning, my morality, my identity? You might see grief, anger, confusion, a whole spectrum of reactions as people grapple with their place in a potentially designed universe.
But humans adapt, right? We adapted to Copernicus, to Darwin. Would we adapt here?
History suggests we would, eventually. Many would find ways to adapt. Some might reinterpret ID scientifically, stripping it of traditional religious baggage. Okay, there's a programmer, but it's not necessarily God.
Or merge it with other philosophies.
Right. Maybe secular humanism adapts. Okay, we're designed, so let's figure out our design purpose, maybe become co-creators. Or new forms of naturalistic spirituality might emerge.
But it could also deepen existing divides, create new ones.
Definitely. Academic fields could fracture. The culture wars could get even more intense, maybe between, new theists embracing the designer and hardline old naturalists resisting. You might even see political reactions, governments trying to control the narrative.
And the wildest twist, what if the ASI didn't just prove design, but offered, direct contacts?
That's the ultimate fork in the road, isn't it? Engage with this designer, or dismiss the whole thing as the ultimate manipulation.
Talk about an existential choice.
Yeah, some might convert instantly. Others would become even more radically skeptical. Humans adapt, yes, but consensus seems unlikely. The fundamental map of human belief, culture, society, it would be redrawn forever. People would be processing, resisting, redefining for generations.
Wow, what a journey we've covered. From understanding what an ASI even is to how it might scientifically prove ID, unpacking ID itself, and then imagining these vast ripple effects through religion and society.
It's quite a thought experiment. And it's worth remembering, while maybe no one's explicitly building an ASI for this purpose right now, the groundwork in physics, AI, biology, information theory, it's all pushing the boundaries in ways that make this hypothetical feel less hypothetical.
Less sci-fi.
Yeah, which really raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it?
It really does. So let's leave you with this. If an ASI provided that undeniable evidence of intelligent design, what would be the single deepest, most personal question you would want it to answer? About the designer, about humanity's purpose, maybe about your own free will? How would knowing that ultimate origin story not as faith, but as hyper-verified truth reshape your choices, your identity, your life? Something to think about. That's all for this deep dive. Until next time, keep digging for those insights.